Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So got a little bit of a different kind of project today. I am going to be demolishing this house. This 1.5 story house is, well, it's my humble beginnings. This is the house that I grew up in, and it's been empty for quite a while, as is evidenced by the amount of damage on the roof and the debris in the gutters and whatnot. But the reason why the windows are all out of it is because I removed all of the storm windows that had aluminum frames on them, so we could scrap them for aluminum. Most of the copper plumbing was already torn out of this, courtesy of some probably drug-dependent low-life individuals over the years. Got in there and tore that out. And the regular original old-fashioned sash windows, I just removed all of those just because, well, I'll just have that much less broken glass to deal with cleanup-wise once we're finished. In my town, you require a permit to demolish a building like this. So I received a permit to demolish this building, the two outbuildings, which that one I already took down with my JCB backhoe. It's partially taken down. That's as far as I could reach in with the backhoe. So I'll finish knocking that down with the big machine. Getting back to this, before I could demolish this, I actually had to have them come in and check for asbestos, and as is going to be almost the case always in an older home, they'll find asbestos somewhere. So then I had an asbestos abatement company come in and remove all the asbestos that they could find, which a lot of it was, so inside there, a lot of the walls are already taken down to the studs because of the type of skim coat plaster had some asbestos in it. It's amazing the different locations you'll find asbestos. There was the linoleum floor in the kitchen. Even though there was a more modern linoleum floor on top of it, it was laid over the old floor underneath it, which contained asbestos. So the floors are stripped down to the original boards on the entire first floor. So I was going to rent a large machine from one of the rental companies, and I probably will still end up doing that, because what you really need to do this job is you need a larger excavator with a bucket with a grapple or like thumb, so that you can crush up the material and pick it up and put it into the dumpster that's going to come here to haul everything away. So one of the things I got to do is I got to move the excavator to the rear of the house so I can attack this thing from the back, and hopefully I'm going to be able to navigate this big machine through this tight area right here, because this pop-up camper is here courtesy of my son, but he assures me he is getting rid of it. It's a mouse house. But in the meantime, one of the contractors that's doing some work, or we're going to be doing some site work on the lot right over in the back here, he actually already dropped off his big Hitachi 370. So I think this is classified as an 80,000 pound machine. This is actually even bigger than what I was going to rent from the rental company. The only problem with this machine, as far as doing the entire job, is it's just got a regular bucket on it. There is no grapple or anything. He does have a thumb for it, but I just wanted to use this machine today to knock the house down and get it all knocked down and pushed into the cellar hole as best as I can. And then we'll follow up with another rental machine with a grapple on it and do the actual refuse removal at a later date. So it's been extremely hot and humid today, and no sooner do I get over here and start thinking about doing something when I can start to hear heavy thunder rolling in the distance. So it may be heading this way. So I think what I'm going to do just for now is maybe get into the machine and familiarize myself with the controls a little bit. Maybe if I have time, move it into position where I need to move it over to the how am I going to get that over there? So I'm standing at the road side, right at the edge of the road here, okay? So he drove it off the trailer and drove right across here, right in there. The problem is he had to go through a stone wall to do that, and he piled up all the stone there. So I can't really get through here unless I move all that. And I can't come back out to the road and try and make the turn because right above my head are wires. I don't want to be anywhere near them with this machine's huge boom. So I think what I'm going to do is end up driving it out back that way. I can go around actually the back of all of this and come in through there, I think. Okay, so this is what the operating compartment of this beast looks like. All right, so pretty straightforward operation here. These pedals right here basically do the same thing as these levers. These levers are for the left and right tracks, so this is to move forward and to steer. I have very little experience running an excavator. Well, let me put this way. I have zero experience running an excavator. However, I do have experience with steering and moving tracked vehicles, courtesy of the United States Army. So I think I will manage with that. The joysticks, my understanding is the joysticks, the left one here and the right one here, that these two work, you work these two joysticks in conjunction to actually swing the boom, move the dipper. So the big part over here, we're going to call that the boom, we're going to call that the dipper and the bucket. So between the two joysticks, you operate all of that, including swing. And I believe this is a standard ISO pattern that they use on these things. I don't suppose this thing has AC. It would be nice if it did, because it is sweltering. So I think this is a speed control to designate how fast everything happens. Or maybe it's a throttle control. The good news is there's a manual right here. Hey, it turns out that wasn't a bad guess. This knob right here is the engine control dial. And these switches down here are like for the auto idle up. So I guess the idea is the engine would idle, and then when you move the hydraulics or move the machine, it will automatically rev up. That makes sense. And actually, that I just noticed there's a sticker right here with actually the same information on it. So that's good to know. Man, I can't believe how hot it is in this thing. All right, that thunder is getting pretty loud, and I'm worried that once the machine's running, I won't be able to hear a storm approaching until it's too late. I really have no desire to be struck by lightning in this machine. So I'm sure this operator compartment here acts as a Faraday cage and would protect me, but that's not the point. So to be continued. All right, well, the thunder shower has passed. As is often the case, they roll through pretty quickly. I see blue sky coming up behind it. I can still hear a little rumble to the south of us, but I checked the radar and that's gonna miss us. So took some time with the manual, so got a little bit better idea of how the auto idle stuff works and the auto acceleration features. And like one of the things I learned, for instance, is that this red lever over here is the pilot control lever, and that if it's in the lock position, which I believe it's in now, then these controls won't be actuated. So the idea is you pull this control, put it in the lock position, so that when you're getting in and out of the machine, you can't inadvertently bump these sticks and cause the machine to move. So go figure. All right, let's see. So the keys right here. So I'm going to start it. So when I turn this key to the on position, several lights should come on. Most of those lights should go out, yeah, and they do. Those two lights stay on until the engine is started. It's very hot out, so I don't need to do any preheat or anything. It should start right up. Oh, and the all-important fuel shutdown or engine shutdown lever is, actually, where is it? Thought it was supposed to be over here on this side of the engine. the auto idle control is in the off position. So this is the manual idle. Okay, so now power switch is, there's three positions. This is high power, power, and E for economy. So economy, it moves slower and the engine runs slower and it's quieter. So I think I can use that for just knocking down an old house. This is the slow fast for movement on the ground. I'll keep that slow. Let's see what happens if I hit one of these levers. Okay, so nothing's happening. So I think that's because of this pilot lever here. So there we go. Now I've got it. So basically, you can't get out of the machine without tripping over this lever. So that kind of forces you or reminds you to put that lever in that other position. So now I think I should have power. And I do. Okay. So that I can swing the whole machine. I'd like to turn around so I'm facing the other way before I start moving it. So I'm hitting some tree limbs up there. That's exactly why you gotta really be careful around wires and stuff with a machine like this. Swinging around the other way. It's just big, huge vines that I'm catching. There we go. Those are falling off. So this door doesn't stay shut, apparently. Latch is broken on it. It's got it taped up. Alright, I need to put the camera down here to properly work this thing. This big, you get a tree in the way, you just take the whole tree down. Well, suddenly I lost power in the curl function of the bucket, and then I saw this fine mist in the air and turned around and looked behind me and saw that a hydraulic line has blown. And it's a shame too, because I was getting so close to being done as far as knocking it all down. Now just that one silly corner of the house is going to be sitting there until I get this fixed. It's nice that on a machine this big they at least put these steps up front here so you can get up here and get to this thing. So that hose was obviously in bad shape already, so I don't feel too bad. It's not like it's something I did, you know. It's just a weak hose that decided to let go. Where's that go though? Oh man. Well, I managed to replace that hydraulic hose and get back to work and got this knocked back down, you know, the rest of this building knocked down. But I didn't set up the cameras because it was really, really hot and I just needed to get this done. It's been about a week or two since that happened, and now I finally got dumpsters on site today. So I'm just loading in all the debris, breaking it up as I go. So that's dumpster number one, about 75% full. Dumpster number two is on its way already. So, all right, gotta keep working. Well, I got most of it packed away into 5 dumpsters, 5 30-yarders. I've got number 6 behind me right now, and I'm in the process of just trying to do a little bit of cleanup. It's really slow going. This is when a machine this big is actually more of a hindrance than a help, especially with no claw. I mean, even a big machine like this, if it had a claw on it, would be a lot better, be able to pick out a lot of the stuff. The problem is with this being an old foundation made out of field stone, and it's got like granite capstones, it's very unstable, and when you're trying to scoop up debris close to the foundation, it's real easy to hit it, and then stuff falls in, and then you're trying to avoid picking up rocks, and some of them are pretty sizable. This is one of the rocks that was in the foundation here. You can see how big it is. And there's plenty more of them down there in the cellar hole. So now I'm kind of just using the using the bucket here like a big giant wheelbarrow and throwing in a lot of stuff by hand. But it's over 90 degrees today. It's exhausting. Did make a couple interesting discoveries regarding the construction of the house. So this house underwent some major remodeling or complete rehabbing back in like the 1940s or 50s. That's why there was a lot of evidence of more modern construction, relatively modern. For instance, there were boards used instead of sheathing, which is pretty common from the 1940s. But then I have a map from 1893 that actually shows some sort of a building roughly in this location here. So that kind of made me think, well, maybe originally this house was much older and then was repurposed. So for instance, one of the things I'm finding is a lot of these old square cut nails. These forged nails. This large beam here was somewhere buried in the bones of the house. I had never seen this beam. Unlike some of the beams in the basement that were exposed, so when you went down to the basement you looked up, you could see those. This one was buried inside the frame somewhere. It might have been for the second floor, holding up the floor joists to the second floor, but it's mortised, and although this one doesn't appear to be hand hewn, I did find one. Unfortunately, I think that one already went in the dumpster. But I did find one that had hand hewing marks on it, which is much earlier. So that would be like 18th century, I believe. So the strange thing would be, well, why would you have one beam inside a house exhibiting craftsmanship from the from the 1700s, and yet no other evidence in the house to indicate that the house was built in the 1700s? It's not all posted beam, for one thing. Well, chances are that beam that it was in there was just something that came out of an old barn or other building years ago, and it was still in good shape when they salvaged it out of that building, and they just repurposed it in this house. I also found out an interesting detail about the foundation. It was common for these old fieldstone foundations that they would cap off the top course with granite slabs, like that big one right there. But then it's almost as if they added to the top of the foundation and extended it. So if you look all along that front wall, you can see there's almost like a bump out right there. Well, now I can see that that's all the granite capstones. That's right where that bump out happens. So over there in that corner, you can actually see above the granite capstones is actually brick. So a brick and mortar foundation was placed on top of the old fieldstone foundation. So now I'm kind of wondering whether or not the whole house, at some point, maybe there was a really, really old house here and it was demolished, and then they reused the foundation but then decided to add on to it. I don't know. So over in the background over there, that red building, that's the old barn, and that addition on the side there is newer, and that was a garage, and that's in much worse shape because that had a very flat roof, and you can see the roof is actually caving in. So that's going to be the next thing to go. We're going to demolish that. I don't know if I'm going to do a video of that one because the main part of the barn is posted beam, and we are going to try and salvage some of the beams in there to see if they can't be resawn into flooring or something like that. So I guess that's going to bring this this little video to a close. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing because you never know what I'm going to get into next. Take care.